Welcome back to the channel. Today's story is a masterclass in confidence, education, and the power of standing tall when someone tries to belittle your journey. What started as a subtle insult in a televised interview turned into a viral moment of inspiration that no one saw coming. It all began when former Florida Attorney General Pam Bondi took an unexpected jab at Congresswoman Jasmine Crockett. Bondi, known for her sharp tongue and history of fiery television appearances, was discussing professionalism in politics. When she veered into a pointed critique of Crockett's background, with a half smile and a dismissive tone, Bondi remarked, "I'm not entirely sure where Congresswoman Crockett got her law degree, but you'd think a proper education would teach someone a little more decorum?" That single line, calculated, cutting, and laced with condescension, spread online like wildfire. Clips from the interview flooded social media within hours. The tone, many said, wasn't just unprofessional. It carried undertones that felt personal, even elitist. But let's rewind for a second. Jasmine Crockett isn't some newcomer fumbling her way through Washington. Before ever setting foot in Congress, she was a powerhouse civil rights attorney who fought tirelessly for justice in Texas courtrooms. She built her reputation case by case, often standing up for those the system ignored. And yes, she earned her law degree from the Thurgood Marshall School of Law, a name that carries weight, history, and pride. Thurgood Marshall, the first black Supreme Court justice, shattered barriers that once excluded people like Crockett, and like so many others who dare to dream beyond limits. So when Pam Bondi threw shade at Crockett's alma mater, she wasn't just mocking a degree. She was mocking a legacy. The backlash came swiftly. Supporters across the country called Bondi's remarks elitist, tone deaf, and even coded. Prominent legal figures, educators, and activists chimed in, reminding the public that the value of a law degree isn't written in the name of the school, it's proven in the courtroom and in the community. But what happened next turned this controversy into something unforgettable. A week later, Jasmine Crockett visited a Texas university for a forum on civil rights and civic engagement. The event was packed. Students, professors, and local leaders filled the auditorium. She wasn't there to talk about the Bondi controversy. In fact, she hadn't even mentioned it publicly beyond a few dignified words. Yet during the Q&A session, something powerful unfolded. A young woman stood up from the third row. Her name was Danielle Rivers, a second-year law student, black, brilliant, and proud of her roots. Her voice trembled at first, but only for a second. Congresswoman Crockett. She began, "I just want to thank you. You inspired me to apply to law school, and when I saw what Pam Bondi said about your education, I realized, people like us, from schools like ours, we're always told we're not enough, but watching you, I know we are." The room fell silent. Danielle took a breath, her eyes steady on Crockett. "If Pam Bondi doesn't respect where we get our education from, that's fine, because education isn't about prestige, it's about purpose. Degrees don't define character, actions do." For a moment you could hear nothing but applause, then cheers. The auditorium erupted, students standing to their feet, clapping, shouting, recording every second. Crockett's eyes glistened. She walked over and hugged Danielle, whispering something the microphones couldn't catch. But what mattered wasn't the words, it was the moment. That single clip, Danielle's impassioned speech, the standing ovation, the emotional embrace, went viral overnight. Millions watched as this young woman flipped the script completely. News outlets picked up the story. Hashtags like #degrees don't define you and #Crockett inspired started trending. Within a day, thousands of students, especially from historically black colleges and lesser-known law schools, began sharing their own stories. They posted about professors who believed in them, nights spent studying in libraries no one famous ever walked through, and their dreams of changing the world one case at a time. And through it all, Jasmine Crockett stayed composed, focused, and graceful. Later that night, she tweeted, "I don't need to defend my education. I'm too busy defending my district. But to every student out there grinding toward your goals, keep going. Your work speaks louder than any insult ever could." That tweet alone got nearly 1 million likes in 24 hours. Pam Bondi, on the other hand, stayed silent. There was no apology, no clarification, just a sudden quiet from someone who had been very loud days before. But by then it didn't matter. The narrative had already shifted. What began as an attempt to diminish one woman's credibility had become a movement celebrating perseverance, representation, and pride. And at the center of it all was Danielle Rivers, a student who refused to let anyone belittle where she came from. In an interview days later, Danielle said, "When I saw Congresswoman Crockett get attacked, I felt like it was personal. Because it wasn't just about her. It was about every one of us who's ever been told our dreams don't count because we didn't come from a fancy place. She made me realize that where you study doesn't define how far you'll go." Those words resonated deeply across the country. Law professors shared her statement with their classes. Activists quoted her in speeches. And Crockett, true to her style, reached out privately to thank her for reminding the nation why representation still matters. But beyond the applause and viral clips, something more profound lingered, a lesson. Education has never been a competition of addresses or alumni lists. It's a journey, often full of obstacles, late nights, and unshakable determination. And sometimes, the ones who rise the highest aren't those who had the easiest path. They're the ones who refuse to give up when others look down on them. Pam Bondi's comment might have been designed to wound, but it did something she never expected. It united. It gave a new generation of students a moment to stand up and say, "We belong." And that's what this story became about, belonging. It's about young black women like Danielle, studying in schools that don't make national rankings but produce heart, grit, and brilliance. It's about lawmakers like Jasmine Crockett, who represent communities with passion and integrity, proving that impact isn't measured by pedigree but by purpose. Weeks later, during a televised panel, a host asked Crockett if she had any response to Bondi's remarks now that everything had unfolded. Crockett smiled slightly before saying, "I think the best response already came from a law student in Texas. That's who this fight is really about. Because when one of us gets dismissed, all of us have to rise a little higher." The audience applauded. Pam Bondi might have sparked the match, but Jasmine Crockett and Danielle Rivers turned it into a fire of empowerment that swept across classrooms, campuses, and conversations nationwide. And maybe that's the ultimate twist in this story. Because sometimes the real power doesn't come from the courtroom, or even from Congress. It comes from the courage of a student with a microphone, standing up for what's right. So the next time someone questions where you come from or what's printed on your diploma, remember this moment. Remember that confidence, conviction, and compassion will always outshine credentials. Because the truth is, degrees may open doors, but integrity keeps them open. And no one, not even a former attorney general, can take that away.